Yo, what's happening guys, King GBL here, and welcome back to some Great League. Today we're going to be showcasing some battles sent into the channel by my good friend, Hugo A Plays. Hugo sent us in some interesting battles here with Sableye, Steelix, Shadow Steelix by the way, and Shadow Magnezone. Very funny backline and a very uncommon team. And in this first game here, we're faced up against a Clefable. Of course, not a very positive lead, but we do have two somewhat decent answers in the back. Now we switch into Steelix, which of course was nerfed last season. However, this season with the new moveset of Psychic Fangs and Crunch, I think Steelix is looking a little bit underrated. It's putting in a lot of work here against the Flaming Crocodile of Death here. Shadow Ball coming in, the opponent's not baiting, and we actually take switch advantage with our Shadow Steelix versus the Crocodile. Now we're super happy this Crocodile's never going to see our Magnezone, and the opponent comes back into Clefable, indicating they may be quite weak to this. Back when people were using Breaking Swipe and Earthquake on this Pokemon, this kind of was a positive matchup for Clefable, just because you double resist the fast move pressure. But with Psychic Fangs, you can just basically work your way through it. The opponent comes into a Gallade. Thankfully, we have energy stored from earlier. This thing gets to these Leaf Blades every 2 seconds. Every 4 2-turn moves, gets them to a Leaf Blade. Super spammy, and bang, it almost takes us out with 1. However, these Shadow Claws are absolutely ripping it to shreds. The opponent will get off a dying move before we get off our foul play, and we'll most likely come into... I think we might need to go for a catch here at this point. And we go for 1-volt switch, 2-volt switches. 2-volt switches actually KOs the Gallade. Back in comes Clefable, and this should be game over. So yeah, once again, thank you to Hugo for sending in the battles. Guys, I've been taking a bit of a break from uploading. The main reason has been I've not really had any good teams to showcase. I've been on a bit of a bad run recently. In the last week or so, I've dropped from roughly 2850 down to around Veteran. With Jungle Cup, I just wasn't really coming across any good teams that I wanted to showcase. And in the last few days of Great League, I've had a very difficult time. I've done a little bit of Ultra League with Sandslash, Tenta, and Jelly, which I could showcase, but generally speaking guys, on this channel, I do like showcasing elo gaining teams, and I've just not really found a lot of great teams this season, and to be perfectly honest with you, I'm definitely having a bit of a rough time with it. So I want to quickly ask everybody who's watching, if you have any footage or any good teams that you're using at the moment, record it. We have like another week and a half of Great League left. Please record it, send it in to me, and I'll do a shoutcast for it. If you're looking for some coaching, if you're trying to hit, for example, Ace, Veteran, Expert, Legend for the first time this season, I can definitely showcase your battles and of course go for a few things that could be a little bit better. Or if you have some interesting teams that are very strong meta teams, or even some slightly off meta picks that are a little bit unexpected but are like this team right here and can perform quite well. Things like Shadow Magnezone, things like Shadow Steelix, Pokemon that may not necessarily be hardcore meta but are still quite good. I don't normally showcase hardcore Spice, so if you're using level 50 Charmander, you should probably send those into Jimmy or Callum. But like I said guys, thank you very much, and let's hop on into it. In today's video, we're going to of course showcase the battles. I do want to talk about a few topics here if that's okay with you guys. So sort of as I mentioned, I've not really uploaded much, I think for about 2 weeks now at this point. I have been live streaming quite a lot, and quite recently, if you guys are in my Discord, I decided to take a bit of a break because I've just been burning myself out for the last kind of year and a half. I pretty much never take days off from battling. I think in the last year and a half, I've taken 3 days off battling. Even whenever I went on holiday to Osaka, I still was battling after midnight, which was kind of crazy. Go Battle League for me is definitely an addiction. It's a love-hate relationship for sure. You know, whenever things are going great, it is fantastic, but whenever things are not going well, you guys know how it feels as well. I'm sure you guys go through the same ups and downs. This game can be very brutal, and it can get you in a very negative mindset. I think for me recently, you probably can tell if you watch my live stream as well, the mold has been at all-time highs recently. So yeah, if you've tuned into my live stream and I've been absolutely molding my ass off, I do apologise. But I do want to say I appreciate everybody who's here, and I've decided after today, I'm just going to go back streaming tomorrow. We have Ultra League for this week, and we have Master Premier next week in Great League. I will have to stick to Great League next week because I don't have the Pokemon for Master Premier basically. So we'll do some streams, most likely do Skarmory, Giratina, or just whatever fun teams I decide to use. I'm not going to take it too seriously. I think for Great League Remix, I'll definitely start taking things super seriously. As we're finishing out this game, the opponent had a bloody Bayleaf for some reason. They had a Razor Leaf Bayleaf. Still a toxic team, but Bayleaf is quite interesting. Another couple of announcements I have is, one thing that I've been really enjoying recently has been competitive Pokemon Go. I joined Team Ireland's Gym Breakers. For those of you who are unaware of what that is, it's Show 6 Pick Free, basically the same as Pokemon Go Regionals. However, we're using limited metas. In this particular meta, you can look it up on PvPoke. It is the Sovereign Cup. And yeah, it's quite an interesting meta. The meta is pretty much defined by fast move pressure with tackle, of all things, because fighting moves are banned. So things like Double and Oinkologne are meta in the cup. So it's quite an interesting one. I've been having a very good time with Team Ireland. And I just want to sort of make a quick announcement. If you guys live in Europe, we're looking for some international players for Team Ireland. So if you're a pretty decent player and you want to team up with me, feel free to drop me a message on Discord. I believe we have 2 more international spots open, so if you live within 2 hours of the GMT time zone, so basically Central Europe should be more or less covered. If you're in Europe, if you're from Ireland or the UK, feel free to drop me a message in Discord in the description down below. Also, last season, for the first time, I joined Battle Frontier, which is basically factions, if you guys have ever heard of it. It's the new version of factions, more or less. Once again, it's been super fun, and actually Hugo here is my teammate in factions. For that, we might be looking for an extra player or 2 as well, so if you're interested in factions and if you've got some good experience, we're looking to get out of open tier. Last season we were extremely unlucky. We actually should have placed 2nd place, however the team that placed above us, they had a match where their opponents just quit and didn't play the match out, and that basically gave them a higher win percentage. So the way it works is, you have your overall wins, right? Let's say Team A versus Team B. You basically have best of 3s, I think, but I want to say between like 5 or 6 different people, right? Let's say, just for example, if Team A wins versus Team B, let's say Team A wins the battles and has an overall score of 15 wins in that, you'll get 15 points and you'll get a win, right? So basically you go through, whoever's got the most wins goes through, but if it's a tie, it's actually based on win percentage. So even though we had more wins, because the team that went ahead of us had a higher win percentage, only because the opponents they were playing did not play out their matches, we didn't manage to qualify. So really unfortunate there, but if you guys are interested in either joining Team Ireland as an international player, or anybody from anywhere in the world who's good at Show 6 Pick 3, feel free to drop me a message in Discord. But yeah, for me personally, doing more competitive formats has been just a ton of fun this season. As for the sort of limited metas, I've really struggled to get my head around them. I think Spring Cup was okay for the first week, but I think after the second week it became super repetitive, and the teams just became more and more RPS. Whenever a meta is able to boil down for 2 weeks, people really do boil it down to a science at a certain point, and whenever people work out matches to a science, that's whenever metas become super RPS, because the mistakes that people would otherwise make that would allow you to flip swap or would otherwise allow you to overcome a bad matchup doesn't exist to the same extent as compared to whenever you're just first learning a team or first learning a meta. So with these 2-week metas, I think that's probably the biggest issue in Go Battle League currently. I think we've had these 2-week metas just far too often. Jungle Cup in particular became super RPS towards the end. People were just boiling it down to Lantern, Skarmory, Abomasnow, Whiscash, and then of course you had a lot of ABA flying teams, Talonflame teams. It just was complete hardcore RPS. If you look at those Pokemon that were available in that cup, they were the best RPS Pokemon. And by RPS Pokemon, I mean Pokemon that just completely wall all our Pokemon of the, let's say, opposing type, but are also very strong into like the general meta. So things like Lantern, things like Whiscash, things like Skarmory, you know, very, very strong neutral Pokemon, but also just hardcore RPS, you know, in that opposing triangle, right? Whiscash destroys Lantern, Lantern destroys Skarmory. I guess, you know, of course, if you throw Abomasnow in there, it sort of core breaks the Whiscash Lantern, but then dies to the Skarmory. You know, so I think Skarmory in general is just a hardcore RPS Pokemon, and Lantern is just too strong. So that cup, for me personally, just got super sickening after a while. So for me personally, my biggest hopes are that I can do some climbing this week, and then basically, by the way, what the fuck is this team? Who uses Grottle? But yeah, my hopes are that I can make some climbing this week in Great League. We have the Go Battle Week in a couple of weeks when Great League Remix is around. We do have 2 weeks of Great League Remix, so I'm hoping that is going to be good. Anyway guys, hopping on to the battles, we have a Penguin lead. Now whenever I see Penguin lead, I automatically assume that they've got Dragons or Giratina in the back. Empoleon lead normally comes with a number of things, right? Normally it comes with either Double Dragon, or it could come with Double Ghost. Those are the 2 most common things with this Pokemon, because if you think about what it's weak to Lantern, right? So having 2 Dragon types in the back, which are pretty neutral into counter users, is definitely a good idea. Or you could just say it's super weak to counter, and you could have something like Trevenant, which will handle Lantern and fighting Pokemon, and of course Sableye. The opponent comes into Altaria, so I would have to assume it's going to be Double Dragon here. So even though we're down a shield, Steelix should be able to put in work, but the opponent actually comes into a Cresselia. Very unusual one here. I think at this point, guys, we're going to basically get off a crunch, maybe fish for a debuff or whatever. And we're going to hop into Magnezone. Magnezone with that defense drop should be able to clean up here, no problem. The opponent's basically going to be forced to shield this Cresselia, because they kind of need to get rid of this Magnezone. We're going to go for probably back-to-back mirror shots. Maybe the opponent just tries to put it on Altaria, but at this point, yeah, like there's just not much they can do. We have an entire Steelix which walls his moveset, and we have quite an interesting match in the next one. Frostlass here, you know, even though this is a negative typing matchup, Frostlass does quite well here because they win CMP. So I believe there are some shielding scenarios that they win. I know they definitely win the ones because they live they win CMP. One avalanche will not KO the Sableye. If you have an attack weighted Sableye, you farm it down in the 2s. But in comes Lantern, we're going to stay in and chip this thing. I do like going for foul play here. I think you most likely chip this. You could arguably just come straight into one of your back Pokemon, but I do like trying to get the final shield off the opponent, and maybe giving Magnezone the opportunity to sweep. Unfortunately, the opponent's not playing along, and we go for a nasty catch on Steelix. Hopefully we caught the Thunderbolt here, that would be very, very nice, but we do catch the Surf, unfortunately. The opponent will probably get to another one, which is not going to KO us, but it's going to be very, very close. Now, if the opponent comes back in with Frost... Oh, they undercharge. I'm not sure why they've done that. I wonder if the opponent has something else in the back that could get a bit of energy. Yeah, it's the Annihilate. That's a kind of nice undercharge by the opponent, because getting ahead in energy with Annihilate... Oh, they catch it on Frostlass. That's disgusting, guys. The opponent's putting on a show here with Frostlass. I do quite like the opponent's team. Maybe a Ghost, a little bit risky, but as you can see with Sableye, you can sort of stay in with Frostlass and make it a little bit awkward, get a shield advantage, and then go into Lantern. So it's not the worst thing in the world. We come into Magnezone. Unfortunately, this thing dies to a wet tissue, so the Shadow Ball, of course, will KO. A Night Slash might have been quite enough there, but the opponent built up to enough moves to get off a Night Slash here anyway, or an Ice Punch in this case. So yeah, good games to the opponent. And hopping into the next one, Sableye. Seeing this in the lead is fantastic because I think it's a debuff dependent matchup. In this matchup, I do like to go for the CMP right there, not allowing the opponents to get off a potential debuff before you get off your move. Of course, you'd have to watch for the opponent going for a catch. I do think the opponent's more likely to go for a catch if you overfarm though. We're going to look to go for a CMP tie on the second time around, and I think we're fairly satisfied at this point. Even if we take shield advantage with Steelix, I think we're basically fine here. The opponent will outpace us here to a Mud Bomb, which is kind of unfortunate, but I think at this range you can probably, yeah, let this go for the Dragon Tail down, and look to try and take care of what's in the back. Now, I'm expecting this to be a Skarmory, of course. The opponent does get off a dying move. Was that new mechanic? We're going to have a look here to see if the opponent dies straight away after that. Yeah, the opponent gets it off a new mechanic, super unfortunate, and they come into a Ghost Monkey. This is looking super rough, but we're going to see here that Steelix can put in a lot of work against Ghost Monkey. After that one Psychic Fangs, we've gotten this thing down to like 35% health. This is still going to be extremely difficult. The opponent falls into Shadow Ball. That gives us half a chance, and they come into Skarmory. Is there still a chance we can win this match? Can we farm Skarmory the whole way down? Even though these moves are resisted, they're going to hurt, but the opponent does not go for a Brave Bird here. We go for a Mirror Shot here. Of course, trying to just commit to this farm down. If we can get off back-to-back moves on the Annihilate, we can win this. We do get the farm down. We go for Wild Charge number 1. Now the question is, are we at 2 moves here? And actually, is a Mirror Shot enough? We go for back-to-back Wild Charges, and that's going to be game over. The opponent absolutely threw that match, not going to lie. The opponent definitely could have Brave Birded, or they could have stayed in with Monkey and like forced the energy. In the next match, quite an interesting one. Now the opponent's building up to a CMP tie that they do not win. As a Sandslash versus the Sableye in this matchup, you just basically want to throw Ice Punch. If you go Drill Run, you cannot farm it down, and you need 2 moves no matter what. We shield the Drill Run, which is great, and we're going to look to get off the next foul play. The opponent here decides to go for a nasty catch on Azu. Whenever you see this Pokemon in the lead, it's very common to have Azu in the back. Now, I maybe would have liked to have seen like a farm back up again, but then if you let the Azu get too far ahead in energy, it can do a lot of work into Magnezone. As you're seeing here, the opponent gets off a Play Rough, and like even though that's resisted, these bubbles are ripping us to shreds, man. These bubbles are ripping us to shreds. We go for a Wild Charge on that. I'm not sure if we could have like Mirror Shot and farmed down, probably not. The bubbles were just adding up far too much at that point. We get off another one on the Sandslash, and at that point, the opponent gets minimal farm. Now, whenever I see this combination of these 2 Pokemon, I automatically assume it's going to be Altaria in the back, so I really like this No Shield. A Drill Run coming in, the opponent's going straight for the big moves, and I think we're just going to shield anything that this thing wants to throw. Even if they Ice Punch bait us, we're perfectly fine to shield it, because if it is Altaria, which it is, the opponent has basically no chance. We can go for Psychic Fangs, ramp up the damage. There's not a single move Altaria can throw to threaten the Steelix here, so this is basically game over. We can look to basically farm up to back-to-back moves, farm it the whole way down. We can pretty much do whatever we want here. That Moonblast actually done a surprising amount of damage. We're going to go for a full undercharge to make sure we get extra energy. Just make sure we come out with the crunch, which we perfectly do. We throw it straight off. Whenever you're in a situation like that, you never do good timing because you only need 1 move, so you just get the move off straight away. It's always good to throw in good timing in the middle of a match, but whenever it's just decisive at the end, you only need 1 move to KO, you just throw it straight away. Now we're seeing a non-shadow Sandslash. I think in this matchup, from the opponent's perspective, they go for the overfarm, which is smart. I think they should be going double Drill Run here. I'm not quite sure if 2 Ice Punches KOs. Maybe it does. I have not really played this matchup with the non-shadow. Yeah, but the looks of things, 2 Ice Punches actually might not KO, but at this range, we can basically shield once, farm it the whole way down. The opponent comes into Annihilate. They're absolutely core broken by Sableye. What could they possibly have in the back? Sandslash lead, Annihilate of all things. I wonder what's in the back. Now, this is kind of tricky for us because you don't really anticipate the opponent staying in and then coming in to annihilate. It's a very weird way to play. The opponent's not baiting, which is quite unfortunate. However, we do get off a Psychic Fangs, which will do heavy damage and also debuff the opponent, meaning our Shadow Claws are going to be ripping through this. We do make it to a final foul play, of course, which will be enough to take it out. And now that we've got this out of the way, the opponent comes into a Golbat. I can smell the Magnezone sweep a mile away here. Now look, you know the opponent's going to go for a Poison Fang here. You probably have to respect it. Oh, they do go for Shadow Ball. They go for Catch on Sand Slash. Doesn't quite work, and we farm it the whole way down. Wild Charge going to come in, going to take care of the Golbat, and that's going to be good games. Magnezone's been quite popular recently. Polasha in the EUIC regionals, I think she put in a lot of work with this Pokemon, and it's been quite popular. Speaking of popular, Furfrou with Sand Attack, a very, very common pick in the Great League here. It is a normal type, but this Pokemon is fairly glassy, so it will die to two of these pretty much. I don't know about you guys, but I think Sand Attack has to be the most broken move in the game. And I'm not talking about broken as in overpowered, I'm talking about literally broken to the extent where, like, you can't count it. The animations and the sound are not in sync, it's quite literally broken. It's pretty funny. In comes Mantine. Now, unless the opponent's running Water Pulse, they don't really have a great move to hit us with. I would say that we're roughly within Ice Beam range. I actually don't mind shielding here. We do let it go though. Maybe we live in Ice Beam. We just about don't, unfortunately. But I think, yeah, we can just come in and go for a huge farm down with Magnezone. The opponent will get off a dying earliest, which is kind of annoying. You might even want to shield it because, you know, the moves just do so much, but that actually done very little. So that was a good no shield. The opponent most likely comes back in with this thing and starts sand attacking us. We just shield whatever, farm it the whole way down, and like to hopefully sweep in the back. They have a Shadow Tenta, or sorry, a Toxapex in the back, so good games. Thank you very much, Hugo, for the battles. Hugo's a fantastic battler. He streams on Twitch. I highly recommend his stream, man. He's a great battler, great guy. Big thank you to Hugo for sending in the battles, and you'll see a link in the description to Hugo's Twitch. Definitely go check it out and drop him a follow. Once again, everybody, thank you for watching. Sorry for the lack of uploads, but I will try to get back to it here. Guys, if you can do me a favor, send me in some Great League battles, it'd be super appreciated. And if you want to join our community, feel free to join us in Discord. A lot of people stream in there every day. And if you're interested in joining my faction, or if you're interested in joining Team Ireland, do let me know in the Discord as well. Thank you, everybody. Have a good rest of your day, and I'll catch you all tomorrow for a stream, and hopefully another upload soon. Take care, guys. I'll catch you all next time.